Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jaden and today I'm going to be telling you about all the books I read in December. The first one being Tusk Love, and I rated this one 4 stars. So after her carriage is attacked by bandits, Oscar helps Guinevere get to her betrothed. So book was very cute and reminded me of Shrek just because of the plot while reading. Book is Critical Role, but you don't have to know anything about that to know what's going on within the book. Book had Insta Love, which I'm not a big fan of Insta Love, so this book was okay with that. And like the explanation for what was in the trunk didn't really work well for me as well. Book was less than 300 pages, so it was a fast read. There were good sex scenes, but I felt like, this is a weird critique for me, but I felt like there were way too many of them. Oscar and Gwen had good chemistry, and I liked them together, even though there was a tiny miscommunication and breakup trope in less than 300 pages of this book. The second book I read was Forget Me Not, and I rated this one 3.5 stars. So Claire decides to go home to visit her family after losing her job when she starts working at a farm that her sister used to work at 22 years prior, which might have answers to her disappearance. It's okay read with fascinating premise, but the ending just didn't work for me. Felt kind of rushed, and the twists were more of, oh, okay, this is the twist. I really liked the majority of this book and the chapters we got from Marcia's perspective. I still have some questions, and I felt like Mitchell's family could have been expanded more. At times I felt like it was more of Marcia's disappearance show than Natalie, who is supposed to be the main character. Ending also felt mismatchy, and just adding characters for it just for shock value. The third one, it was Druid Cursed, and I rated this one 3 stars. So Kellen Ravenwood has 7 days of freedom, but must sacrifice the granddaughter of the witch who cursed him to remain free forever. So it was okay to read, but the book more annoyed me at times, whether through the contest that brought Maggie there, that gets forgotten about or has no relevance to the plot. Plot holes concerning Wendy, her phone and texts, and like Maggie's disbelief with what's going on. Plus how Maggie and Kellen fall in love in like a week's time. That's way too fast to fall in love, just like in my opinion. This book also had really cool stained edges. Like the book could have been better, plus it changes perspectives in the middle of chapters, which I don't like. This book was just annoying, even though it had some interesting character moments and decisions. The fourth one I read was The Women of Artemis, and I rated this one 4 stars. So this is a retelling of the Amazons. Liked this book a lot, more than I thought it was since I read from this author before it, and that book was more of an okay read. Really enjoyed myself, especially since this is my first retelling of the Amazons that I've read. The story was nicely placed. Even at the beginning I thought, oh, we're doing this now with a big plot point. But it worked really well story-wise. There were a lot of side characters, which I all kind of mixed together since there were all too many. I wanted to read more of these authors' books because I really like this one a lot. And she has another one about the Amazons. So this one's like how it's going to be, and then the other one is about like the Amazons themselves. So that would have been really interesting. I'm glad Artura got what she wanted at the end, and it didn't diminish her character, even though at times I couldn't believe how young she was during some of these major events. And it felt unbelievable at times that someone this young was doing all of this, being a leader of all these women. After that, I read You Goth My Heart, and I rated this one 4 stars as well. So after Greg gets wrong numbered, him and his number grow closer to each other while never knowing who the other one is. Book was very cute and was a very fast read. The way texting is done, I found very fun, and it made my reading more enjoyable. There is a serial killer side plot in this book that, like, with the synopsis, made it seem like it was a bigger deal than it was. But like it's more used as a joke in this, and doesn't have any relevancy to the plot itself. Like, you could have taken it away, nothing would have changed plot-wise. I thought Gray and Mystery Number were very cute together, especially through text. I was rooting for them 100%, even though sometimes what they were talking about at times, I felt like, why are you talking about this? Like, I know they were teenagers and stuff, but it just felt weird for them to talk about certain subjects. I'm like, okay. Again, book was super cute, and it made me smile a lot while reading. The next book I read was Dead Girls Walking, and I read this one 2 stars. So Temple gets herself a counselor job at a weekend retreat to figure out where her father buried her mother years prior. I really didn't like this book, so I read through it just to get it done with. Premise was interesting, but I just couldn't get into it. Writing style just didn't work for me, and then the story starts off immediately at the camp. There were too many characters that all blend together, and so most of them ended up as cannon fodder. Or I forgot who we were supposed to be. Some of the imagery is cool, but that's about it. I didn't know how I should feel about Temple. Should I sympathize? Should I not sympathize? I had more like a love-hate relationship, but it was more like hate. I stopped caring in the beginning and didn't care as the book progressed. Through the ending, I left a lot of questions for me, like linguistically. Also, this book did have like pages of like interviews and reviews and newspapers, which added a lot, but really didn't do anything to the story. Like, it led more to stories about Temple's dad and what happened and like conversation between them, but it didn't really add much story-wise, if that makes sense. After that, I read The Reluctant Reaper, and I rated this one 3 stars. So Amara takes her job as the Grim Reaper reluctantly after her father's death falls ill. This book felt way too jumpy. Like, I had to reread what I was reading because I didn't understand what was going on. Synopsis of the book made it seem like certain plot points would be more meaningful, but they're only given like 2 chapters and then never really talked about again. So it just felt misleading. There were short chapters, and I liked the mix of all the different death personifications. Along with a couple chapters with Amara being death earlier in the book, were cool, and I wish we got more of those kind of chapters. Random POV chapters with different character for some reason, and the ending with the father and whodunit was rushed, and it's more of like, oh, it's them? They're doing this? Okay. Plus, didn't feel unmeaning chemistry with the romantic lead, and they just felt more platonic in my opinion. After that, I read The Wrong Sister, and I rated this one 3.75 stars. So when Tasha and her husband go out for a week, her sister Alice and her husband stay to watch Tasha's kids. A few days into it, the house is attacked, leaving Alice in the hospital with a note saying it should have been Tasha. So very fast read, finishing in about a day. Few POVs, but they didn't feel confusing like they usually do when there's multiple of them. Mystery is intriguing, kept me on my toes, especially with the multiples of it. Holly twist was kind of predictable, but good red herrings. I like the ending, especially the second to last chapter, even though I'm not 100% sure what happened. Just like, I need somebody to clarify, just make sure. I'm 95% sure I know what happened, but I just need somebody just to make sure I know what I'm talking about. After that, I read The Intruder, and I rated this one 4 stars. So during a storm, Casey sees someone lurking through her window, covered in blood. So this is a Freedom of Writing book, so I finished it in less than a day. It finished very fast. The word itself, intruder, is used so much in the first like 50 pages, and I'm like, you could have used a different word instead of intruder. You could have used a different word. It just got so annoying. Use a synonym. Cover was pretty purple and cool red stained edges. The twists were really cool and weren't expecting them, even though I always try to guess the twist with Frida's books. Ella's chapters were my favorite, and I couldn't wait for the next one to show up. Lots of fun with this book, and I couldn't wait to read more. Couldn't put the book down. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. I liked Anton and Ella's growing relationship and the imagery of Ella's mom's house. It felt immersive. The next book I read after that was I, Medusa, and I rated this one 5 stars. So this is a retelling of the Medusa myth. I really liked this book a lot more than I thought it would. I liked that the story gave a better understanding of Medusa in her human form than what we just get in mythology, just mostly of her being the Gorgon. This one just humanizes her a lot more. I liked that we got to see Medusa as like an African American, and that her her locks become the snakes. Her relationship with Apollona was well developed, made sense. Beautiful stained edges. They're so beautiful. Like I said, the author made Medusa seem more sympathetic, more human than I've read in other retellings. I did like her hesitancy using her powers towards the end until something happened, and then she's like, you know what, screw it, I'll use them. Epilogue was well done and gave a good underlay of the entire story of Medusa. It reminded me of the end of the book Song of Achilles, especially in the way it was written differently from the rest of the book, and just like the sadness of it, especially with how it ended with her sisters, and it just like struck out to me. And this book is so good. I loved it a lot more than I thought I would. After that, I read Holiday Ever After, and I rated this one 3.5 stars. So after a family's company steals a doll idea from a small town, Clara goes in to make amends but ends up falling for the town and people instead. So I read from the author before, and book was okay. I couldn't get into the writing as much as I could with other books, so it took me longer to finish it. Book gave Hallmark movie vibes, which was good, and I liked that the kid and I liked the leads, Clara and Jack. I can't read my own handwriting. There was the stupid third act breakup miscommunication trope with reasoning not really working for me. Plot point with Clara's dad didn't feel finished to me. I kind of left it kind of open-ended. Plus, Jack, like at the end, they're like together, and he makes this huge purchase, like this big, huge life purchase, without her permission. Like, he just goes and does it, and it's like, this is for us. And it's like, no, this is like a huge life purchase. Like, this is going to follow us for the rest of our lives, and you just asked her without permission to buy this. It just pissed me off. Like, no. You should not have it. You should have asked her permission. Like, no. It just pissed me off. But there were some decent sex scenes in this book. After that, I read Tinkerbell, and I rated this one 3.75 stars. So Tinkerbell and her friends try to save Neverland before the story of Peter Pan happens. So cool, interesting concepts, but that I haven't imagined for Neverland, especially with the shadows, Hook, and the crocodile. Interesting twist on James that were overshadowed, but I completely ignored while reading. So it surprised me at the end. Parts of the book did drag on, like the hospital. Felt they spent much time there, and because of that, the ending was rushed, and it felt like they were just trying to wrap it up, especially with some of the twist characters and their demise. Book just kind of disappointed me, which is sad because I'm a big fan of Tinkerbell and her stories. And I've read from this author before, and I'm in the Twisted Tales book, so I was really excited for this one, and this one just like fell flat for me. The penultimate book I read was How to Kill Men and Get Away with It, and I rated this one 3.5 stars. So Kitty Collins is a serial killer with a stalker who knows her secret. So the book was enjoyable, but it had like no plot. Like, she just lives out her life, and then she accidentally kills these guys, or she purposely kills these guys. But other than that, there's no plot to this book. I just had her kill men who deserved it, whatever, and I didn't really lead anything to the story until like her penultimate one in the book. And then that, like, because of something she does, it causes like the third act in the book. But other than that, there's no plot to this book. Book did make me audibly gasp at times, and book had short chapters. The stalker reveal was met and then quickly got resolved, so it was like there's no point, especially in the last 30 pages. There were sex scenes, but I felt they weren't really needed. Like, I didn't think they were going to be in this book, but were good to read. Some of the kills were good and well deserved, just like them being no plot to the book just kind of pissed me off. There is a second book in this series, but I don't know if I'm going to read it because, like, there was no plot. What makes you think there's going to be a plot in the second one? There's no plot in this one. And then the last book I read was Crafting for Sinners, and I rated this one 4.5 stars. So while at the store for more fabric, Ruth finds out the employees have barricaded the door and are hunting her for various reasons. So I enjoyed this book a lot more than I thought I would. New Creations is basically like a Hobby Lobby ripoff. You get the hint of it, like when they make references to it, like certain barcodes and how the store is laid out. You're like, oh, this is supposed to be like Hobby Lobby, which I found hilarious. It started off slow but picked up and was sort of predictable. I liked the imagery, especially how gruesome it got while in the New Creation store, whether through the deaths or like through the animals that we see. Like, with the latter, there's a scene that I could like imagine myself in Ruth's shoes, and I could she stays quiet through the entire time, and I would have been found out. I could not have been as quiet as she was. Like, there was no way in hell I could have done what she did, and it just like freaked me out so much. At times, this book did remind me of the movie Ready or Not, but in a good way. I really enjoyed the ending too and what it could mean. Also, this book had a fun way of using transcripts, comments, and news. It was a good inclusion and helped the story plot-wise about like, oh, there's this missing kid, who could it be? Like, some of that was predictable, but it was very good in making the story come alive and making it feel realistic. So those are all the books I read in December. If you have any recommendations for January, let me know down below. Otherwise, I'll see you next month and next year. Bye!